Hey there, my name is Nicole Butler. I am the author of Grief is Holy, a practical guide to grieving with God. And I just wanted to come and communicate a couple of things about the book. First is that this book is about grieving. It is about loss. It is about mourning, and taking a look at the sorrow that we feel because of the losses that we've experienced. And if you are freshly in that process, like if you have recently lost someone or something that was close to you, where the hurt and the pain it's fresh, I would encourage you to get the audiobook version of the book. Because sometimes when we're at the height of emotion or things are so heavy or so emotional, so overwhelming for us, it can be hard to take in rational thought. And in the book, there are a lot of rational thoughts, rational ideas. So with that, I think getting the audiobook where you can hear my voice as I'm walking you through the pages of the book, I think would be helpful. If reading the book is something that you feel like you should do or could do at this point in time, I would encourage you to get the audiobook. And something that I say in the introduction, I believe it is that I'm not any kind of expert in grief or trauma, but the purpose of writing this book is to be a friend that sits with you in the process and encourages you to grieve, encourages you to lean into the process of grieving and doing it with God, not just grieving, but doing that process, going through that process with the Lord. So again, we would be going through the pages together, but the actual process of grieving, you're going through it with the Lord. And so again, if you have freshly experienced a loss, first, I'm sorry for the loss that you experienced. And in that, I would ask that you would get the audiobook again so that you can hear my voice and I can talk with you as you navigate through these pages. If you are not necessarily freshly grieving, I know that's tricky because some of us, things have happened 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago, and we're still freshly grieving some of those things. I am grateful that you are here and that you would even look into this topic, look into what it would mean to do in your own life. And again, the purpose of this book is to be someone that supports and encourages you to go through the process, but also that it would be a catalyst for you to give you permission to grieve, give you permission to take a look at what you lost, take a look at the fact that it did hurt, that it did affect your life, that it did change things for you in your heart and in your mind, and grieve what was lost, like mourn what was lost. And in that, it's not pretending that what was lost didn't affect you, or that you can just carry on without it just fine. Something we talk about in the book is the anatomy of grief, and how when we're grieving, it's not just something that's affecting our emotions, but it's affecting our bodies, and it's affecting us spiritually too. It's affecting us when we grieve, and it's affecting us when we choose not to grieve. And the book just shows us some of the things that we need to be aware of because of how vulnerable and how sensitive the grieving posture is, and that process can be. And I say grief is holy because it gives us the opportunity to get closer to God, to come close to Him. And we already know in Psalm 34:18 that it says that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and he rescues those who are crushed in spirit. And so we know he's close. Like from the time that our heart was broken, from the time that the loss was experienced, the Lord was close. And grief and going through the grieving process with God gives us the opportunity to not only experience his closeness, but for us to respond to that closeness and lean in to him and to who he is. And so I know this is not an easy topic, and it's not an easy thing to experience or to walk through. And some of the things that we have suppressed and pushed down are not, we did that for a reason. Like we wanted it to go away and to not remember it for a reason. But just because we pushed it away, it doesn't mean that it went away. And I think there are things that we as the body of Christ, we as people need to grieve. And we're unable to move forward when we haven't grieved the things that are behind first. So again, this book, Grief is Holy, A Practical Guide to Grieving with God. If you are freshly grieving, please get the audiobook so that I can talk you through it. And if you are not necessarily freshly grieving, but you would still appreciate just that voice walking you through it, you can get the audiobook as well. And that is available at griefisholybook.com or www.griefisholybook.com. Also, what you will find there on that website is an opportunity for you to share your story. And it is in a blog format. There are different post structures set up for each type of loss that we talk about in the book. And we say that different losses can compound, so you can be experiencing more than one loss at a time. So when you're going to see which one you're going to share your story on, choose the primary loss you feel you experienced. So if it was the death of a loved one and that led to like the loss of a dream, the loss of a role, choose whichever one you think was the main loss that you experienced. And then you will go to that blog. You'll read the excerpt from the book if you haven't read it already. And then you'll share your story about the loss that you experienced. And the purpose of that section is to encourage people, to encourage one another. For people who may be walking through what you experienced, it might not be the same details or, the same things might not have happened to them. But when they read your story, it resonates with them because of what they're currently walking through. So just when you share your story, share it, but also leave room for hope. Like leave room for how you saw God's faithfulness in the midst of it. Maybe a scripture that you leaned on, something that the Lord, you felt the Lord speak to you in the process. That part, that share your story part, is going to be where we can, someone can come in and they can read the different stories of that section and be encouraged in knowing that God is faithful. And this part is, I think it's the Greek word, maybe Hebrew. I think it's a Greek word for testimony is aduth. I'm so sorry. I'm probably butchering that. But the essence of it is asking God to do it again with the same power and authority. So every time we hear someone's testimony, we are taking it in and asking God to do what you did for that person again in my life with the same power and authority that you did it. And so that's the purpose of that share your story section, is to share your testimony and allow other people to read it and to come through and say, God, what you did for them, the way you showed up for them, will you do it again in my life with the same power and authority? So yes, please share your story. And if you are freshly grieving and you just need support, like you need people to rally around you, to encourage you, to pray for you, to send scriptures your way and remind you of what the Lord is saying about you and about this time, There's a grief support group on Facebook, and the link for that will be in the bio. But it's just, the title of it is Grief is Holy, Grief Support. And it's also on the griefisholybook.com page. You can find the link there. But the purpose of that, again, is to just encourage one another as those feelings of grief are coming up. We're there to rally around each other. And depending on when you're watching this, actually, you could be watching this in a year and there's still not very many people in that group. But the goal, no matter what, even if you're the only person in that group, there are people who are ready to rally around you and pray for you and encourage you. And so that's what that grief support group is for. It is available if you need it. So that was it. And that was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But again, the book is Grief is Holy, a practical guide to grieving with God. And if you don't read this book, and this is the only thing you hear me say, I just want to encourage you that the process of grieving is necessary, and it is a vulnerable and a sensitive time. And so if there's nothing else that you hear, I just ask that you do it with God, that you invite him into the process, and the emotions that you feel, the questions that you have, the frustrations, the concerns, the anger, the disappointment, the hurt, don't disconnect it from your relationship with God, but all of it. Bring it before him and engage this process with him. Last thing, I did a podcast with Fran Arline a few weeks ago, and I just started writing the book, so I'm fumbling over my words even there, but it will give another insight about the book, and she asked questions that helped pull out more description of it. So even if you don't get the book, please go listen to that podcast. I will link that below. And that's it. I'll stop there. But I am praying for you. The fact that you were here on a video that talks about grieving and how grief is holy. I'm sure you have brushed up with grief and have encountered the grieving process at some point in your own life, and it might be where you're at right now. And so I am praying for you, and I want to encourage you with Psalm 34:18, that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and that he rescues those who are crushed in spirit. So as you go through this time, allow him to be close, allow him to be near, and allow people to rally around you to help guard you during this time, and then to help you heal as you recover from the losses that you've experienced. I'm praying for you. I'll talk to you soon.